Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash. I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing.
Nobody wants a movie about true love? What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? The outrage.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
They are pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of happy.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
Rachel Zegler's Snow White drama just got even worse. And let me tell you, she is not recovering from this anytime soon. Get this, Disney is reportedly blaming Rachel for Snow White being a flop after it was reported the movie was not going to even break even and they are out for blood. And to make things worse, it's being reported that Rachel has fallen out with every major studio executive in Hollywood, and Noone is taking her calls. Could this be the end for Rachel Zegler? Y'all better hold on to your seats as we dive into Rachel's latest scandal, because this drama is way better than the actual movie.
We can start out with the creative bankruptcy of remaking another animated classic instead of making something new. But yes, it's all Rachel Zegler and her behavior. And if it was just one comment, it probably would have been forgotten by now. But it was comment after comment, and it was pissing off everybody, pissing off old Disney fans.
Now, after a disastrous premiere, things are looking even worse for Disney and Rachel Zegler after it got reported that for a third straight week, the movie was on track to perform even worse and to make their situation way worse. It got announced that Snow White is on pace to make a staggering $115 million loss amid all the Rachel Zegler drama. According to detailed reports from distribution experts, Snow White will generate about $295 million, which is far short of the $410 million which Disney spent in making the movie. The astronomical budget was driven up by numerous production delays, industry strikes, a fire, and a PR and marketing budget to undo Rachel Zegler's disastrous public image. Is one of the largest in the live-action remake genre. Rachel has cost Disney so much money that they canceled another live-action remake they had in the works.
Rachel Zegler is not having her year where her Snow White movie is going to lose $200 million for Disney, but doing so, she also screwed over Tangled in the process. When Rachel Zegler was cast as Snow White, she joined one of Disney's biggest franchises, which was Disney Princess, where they've done $45 billion in merchandise sales just in the last 25 years. With the goal of trying to keep that brand fresh, they've tried to do live-action reboots of the Princess movies, and they have had success so far, with Cinderella making over $500 million on a budget of $90 million, and then Beauty and the Beast making $1.3 billion. But the last two attempts for Disney just haven't worked, where Halle Bailey's Little Mermaid lost $25 million for Disney, and Rachel Zegler's Snow White is way worse, and it could lose up to $200 million.
Now, in the lead up to this fiasco, Rachel was poised to signify a change in the industry. She was supposed to disrupt the system from its old traditions, but it seems she made too many disruptions. Rachel started butting heads with studio higher-ups even before the movie was done. Back in August 2024, Rachel Zegler took to X, formerly Twitter, and posted in support of Palestine, right in the middle of promoting the Snow White trailer. And listen, we all know politics, especially when it comes to Israel and Palestine, is a powder keg. So yeah, it didn't take long for things to blow up. What made this even messier? Gal Gadot, who stars alongside Rachel in Snow White, previously served in the Israeli Defense Forces and has been publicly supportive of Israel. So when Rachel made her post, let's just say tensions behind the scenes were instant. That one tweet sent shockwaves through Disney. Insiders say people working on the film were totally blindsided. They couldn't understand why Rachel chose to tie such a heavy political message to a Disney promo. Executives were not happy. Word is they were blowing up her phone, and producer Mark Platt even flew to New York to have a face-to-face with her. At that point, Rachel's relationship with the studio was already on thin ice. For nearly 2 years, she had been throwing subtle and sometimes not so subtle shade at Snow White, criticizing the story, the original themes, and even the production choices. But Disney had already poured so much money into the film and its marketing that they were basically stuck. And Rachel? She wasn't making it easy. Now, anyone in Rachel's situation would have at least laid low, because the worst thing you would want to do is strain your relationship with the studio even more. But not Rachel. She hopped on IG after the election and went off, like no holding back kind of off. In one fiery post, she wrote, "May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace." And just when you thought that was the peak, Sis kept going. She called Trump supporters a deep, deep sickness and slammed them for clinging to a false sense of security, masculinity, intelligence, patriotism, and humanity. Oh, and to cap it all off, F Donald Trump. The internet exploded. MAGA supporters came at her hard, demanding Disney fire her from Snow White. Hashtags started trending, conservative influencers jumped in, and the calls to boycott the film hit maximum volume. At that point, Disney was over it. Executives were reportedly scrambling. They didn't know what to do with Rachel anymore. She was alienating a huge chunk of their audience, and they couldn't have that ahead of such a high-budget release. Once again, producer Mark Platt was sent to do damage control, flying out to meet Rachel one-on-one in hopes of calming the storm. But Rachel wasn't exactly backing down. So, in a last-ditch effort to save face, Disney brought in a social media crisis expert to manage her and get her posts under control. They were desperate to shift the narrative. But Rachel, she wasn't making it easy. At this point, Rachel's relationship with Disney was already in the pits, and they literally just wanted her to go away. But they had this movie they had spent a lot of money on already. And with that being a flop already, Disney wants nothing to do with Rachel. Now, it's not just at Disney where Rachel was disrupting things and butting heads with studio executives. On the set of her other project, West Side Story, Rachel was also clashing with executives. Things got so bad that Rachel came out in an interview and bashed the studious executives for how they were treating her. In the interview with Allure, Rachel said, "There's confusion because I don't have a single ounce of Latin in my name," Zegler says. "When I was in the running for Maria in West Side Story, they kept calling to ask if I was legit. I remember thinking, do you want me to bring my abuelita in? I will. I'll bring her into the studio if you want to meet her. Having a bunch of white executives have you prove your identity to them. It's an interesting experience being part of that diaspora in the current climate we live in," she adds, "but I love being Colombian, and I love being Puerto Rican. There is a fundamental misunderstanding about those of us who could be considered DEI hires. We're not here to check a box. We're here to carry on the cultural traditions of our abuelitas, to enjoy our arepa and habichuelas. Whether you think we're too Latina or not Latina enough, whatever we're called on to do, we're here to get the job done."
If it ain't broken, don't fix
Break it.
Leave it alone. Yeah, that's it. If it ain't broke, break it. Like, leave these stories alone. By the way, if she never opened her mouth and she didn't do all this nonsense, people would have gone and watched the movie. They would have made their money, but then people would have been disappointed after them.
Now, many because of her more than many controversies and even more controversial takes and clashes with studio heads. Rachel has now gained a reputation of being too woke, and many are attributing her being overly woke to be the key reason for her being disliked. Apparently, Rachel's overly woke remakes in the lead up to Snow White's release caused a lot of parents not to go with their kids to see the movie, and now that the movie is a huge flop, many are kind of happy to see this. Just take a look at some comments people have been posting online about Zegler. Rachel Zegler is a perfect example of Gen Z who find everything and anything offense. If she didn't like the original Snow White, she shouldn't have auditioned for it, not even mentioning the fact that with her Latina skin, she's completely wrong for the role. Good to see that this woke stuff is being slammed from all sides. And as for its star, the way she's carrying on should see her slide back into the woodwork quite quickly. In 2 years' time, her film will be forgotten, while the Disney original will not. This young person is trying extremely hard to politicize a wholesome family movie made in 1937. What she has done is embarrass Disney, herself, and the whole cast and crew of a movie that looks totally unwatchable. She's delusional. How can these woke imbeciles attempt to totally destroy a timeless classic like Snow White? Here's a clue to its longevity, you stupid excuse. It's a child's fairy tale. They usually end up with a happy ending without wokeism or snowflakery. The original story has entertained multi-millions of children and their parents over the past 8 decades. Your version will be forgotten about rather quickly, I think.
Surprised that Snow White flopped. And here's the thing. I used to work at Disneyland for a very long time. I've been going my whole life. I literally still go to this day. And why would you take the most beloved animation Disney classic film, the first one that was ever made by Disney and put Disney on the map, and turn it into this woke DEI bullshit? Holy shit, it's not that deep. It's just a fairy tale movie.
Anyways, your personal opinions on what people online are saying about Rachel Zegler aside, you have to admit she angered a lot of people when she began throwing shade on the original movie. And even Disney themselves were aware of this fact. In the weeks leading up to the Snow White premiere, it became painfully clear to Disney that Rachel Zegler's public image was beyond salvaging. The PR team scrapped the rebrand. Damage control? Abandoned. Instead, they shifted gears and tried to contain the narrative. So instead of the usual full-blown Disney spectacle, glamorous red carpet, glowing press coverage, media interviews, they went low-key. Like, very low-key. The premiere was stripped down to the bare minimum. No press junket, no red carpet chaos, no media frenzy, just a quiet screening at the El Capitan Theater and a subdued pre-party. That's it. And the reason? Rachel. Disney was reportedly terrified to have her anywhere near a reporter. After months of backlash, viral rants, political controversy, and Snow White slander, they couldn't risk one more off-script moment. She'd already stirred up enough chaos to tank the film's rollout. Martin Kleba, who voices Grumpy in the movie, didn't hold back when speaking to The Hollywood Reporter. He flat out said Rachel basically ruined the whole thing for everyone involved. In his words, it's going to be at the El Capitan Theater, which is cool, but it's basically going to be a pre-party, watch the movie, and that's it. There's not going to be this whole hoopla of Disney's first effing movie they ever made. Because of all this controversy, they're afraid of the blowback from different people in society. You! When your fellow cast member is out here saying that ahead of the release of your big movie, you know it's bad. Anyways, what do y'all think about all this backlash Rachel is receiving? Is she too woke, or is it more about her being unlikable? Let me know your opinion in the comments below, and don't forget to check out our other videos to ensure you are up to date with all the latest Cel B drama. Till next time, bye.